Hi everybody, and welcome to the show called CHOPZ. That's all music about musicians in the area and the lifestyle and being on the road and everything that's involved with performing. Well, here's what's been happening. We had a great weekend this last weekend, October 25, this last Friday. My band, the Cat Orlando Band, played O'Meara's in Berkeley, and it was a great show. So just want to say thank you to all who came out for the show this last Friday, and maybe we'll have some clips coming up in the future here where we could show you the show that we played, and also some other performances featuring music from all my CDs over the years. So stay tuned for that. On another note, also coming up, the Cat Orlando Band will be playing at the Blind Owl in Royal Oak. That's November 15. That's more the us doing the cover stuff with a few of my songs thrown in for good measure, and that's at the Blind Owl in Royal Oak, November 15. So look for that one. So also over the not this last weekend, but the weekend before, it was also a special weekend because we celebrated my mom's 100th birthday. So she had a great time, I'm happy to report, and I wanted to make it special for her, so I've been known to wreck an Italian song or two, so that's why I called my friend vocalist Michael Carlucci to do the honors of singing for my mom's birthday. And so I got a clip of coming up here of Michael Carlucci singing to my mom and my aunt, who's 101, believe that? And that party took place at the Michigan Corporate Cafe right here in Bloomfield Hills. So here's a little clip of that.
Bells will ring, ting-a-ling-a-ling, ting-a-ling-a-ling, and you'll sing Peter Bella. Hearts will play, tippy-tippy-tay, like a gay Bella. When the stars make you drool, just like pasta, that's amore. When you dance down the street with the cloud at your feet, you're in love. When you walk in a dream, but you know you're not dreaming, bella signorina. Scusami, poi sì, perché Napoli, that's amore. That's amore.
So now for the next part of my show, where I'm going to have, this is where I have guests come on and we do a little chat here. So you know that when you go to New York and LA and Nashville, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to go out there, that's where the action is. But right here in Detroit area, you can be at a nightclub and some other event in town, and you might be standing next to a musical legend or somebody that has shared the stage with legendary artists. You just don't know, you know, who's all in this town. You'd be surprised because Detroit has a rich musical history. So my next guest here is an example of exactly that type of artist. She's an amazing keyboard player who has graced the stage around, in and around Detroit and on the road as well. So please welcome my friend and keyboard musician, Susie Woodman.
Great to be here,
Susie.
Thank you.
Welcome, glad you can make it here.
My pleasure, it's an honor.
All right, I really appreciate it. And maybe you could tell everybody a little bit better than I did what you do and who you are.
Yeah. That's an interesting question, and I thought about it before I got here.
Okay.
How do you tell somebody who you are?
Right.
Because you live each day in the moment.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. I have been a mom. I'm now a grandmother of 6.
6, right.
6. And a working musician since I was in my teens. So, you know, it has been a long road full of some wonderful, wonderful experiences.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So, what got you interested in music? Was it through school, or was it an interest of your own?
Well, actually, my dad was a recording artist in New Zealand and Australia. He had a number of what they called top 10 hits on the hit parade. And we came back to the States when I was in school, just starting school.
Oh, okay.
So he had a contract with RCA Victor, but his band elected not to come back and pursue the career here. So he came back and got a job in radio, but always music was always a part of the family life.
Okay.
You
So
know,
here being Detroit, you moved from Australia to?
No, actually, my family's from the Upper Peninsula.
Oh, okay.
And when we came back from, my dad's from the Upper Peninsula. My mother was from New Zealand.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, there's a long history. They met during World War II.
Oh, okay.
And so anyhow, we came back to the States and ended up settling in Wisconsin. And then a few years later moved back to Michigan, but settled in the Saginaw area.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So music was just something you did in the family. You know, if it wasn't the graphic arts, and I have some relatives who are amazing graphic artists who had some success in that career. But,
Yeah.
you always say, I hope the kids are talented because they're going to think they are. You know?
Well, it's amazing how those two professions seem to kind of go together. You know?
Yeah.
What type of music was your dad's band?
Well, it would have been called jazz in the day. We would call it standards now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And they did a lot of covers back then. He wasn't really a writer, so to say.
Oh, sure.
Composer, but
Right.
yeah.
So, also, and you write music as well.
I do,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
And
Which-
what's your process in writing music? I mean, do you write both music and words, or?
I do, and the process evolves according to the song. Some lyrics come about initially.
Mm-hmm.
Other times I'll be sitting at the piano and playing,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll come across a progression I like. And then the progression has to be as melodic as the melody line is for me.
Right.
So, then I'll build on that, and then the lyrics will follow. It really depends.
Yeah, it can seem to
Yeah.
go either way, But I thought maybe it was different for somebody that actually plays piano like you do,
Yeah, I actually wrote a song once on guitar.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't
See, that's
play
right.
guitar.
You play other instruments that I didn't know about.
I don't play guitar. I had 4 lessons and figured I could know enough to write a song.
So, also, who are your musical idols, say, on piano and keys?
Yeah, I guess, in terms of people of my generation, I was a great fan of Carole King's and Laura Nyro's. There were some wonderful jazz pianists. I saw Bill Evans live. That's, however, not in my wheelhouse. I couldn't even strive to attain that caliber of musicianship, but those kind of players were always, they set the bar really high.
Yeah, that's always something to aspire to,
Yeah.
as we're all striving for. And
The beauty of music is you're always learning and growing in it. So
that's right. It is endless. It really is. So as far as writing, then, do you have who are your influences as far as writing, songwriting?
now, wow, I think I don't know if I would say I had an influence.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first songs I ever wrote, a couple of months later, Chicago released a song that had the same progression. I thought, did I steal their progression or did they steal mine?
Right.
And it really depends upon the genre. I loved Willie Nelson. I wrote a bunch of country stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you're looking at the pop world, it would have been Carole King or Laura Nyro.
Sure.
But in terms of trying to write songs like them, no, I just wrote what comes, which is probably why there aren't a lot of hits there, because it's more personal than it is commercial.
Well, personal can be good too.
It can be commercial as well, yeah, and there
because
certainly is a
people,
market.
It's something relatable to people.
Yeah.
That's the goal, anyways, that somebody can relate to it. But
perhaps from our generation, that was the goal.
That's there's different ways of approaching it, but it can be different for somebody that is on a chord. That's what I'm thinking, is on a chord instrument can make your process a little bit different.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm on a singular note instrument, and so I have to struggle on.
But you'll
on
come up with an
keyboard.
interesting melody line.
That I'll tend to do that first, and
Yeah.
then sit down at a piano and.
Yeah, and that's
try
what
to
writing
bang it
with
out.
Chrissy Morgan was like.
Oh, okay.
Because she would come up with the
Right.
lyrics and the melody line,
Right.
and then I would get to sit down and evolve the progression around her melody line.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I notice that when I do try to come from the chords, I get stuck. I get a groove going on, and then I want it to go somewhere. I want it to build up, and I don't have that kind of composition background where it just kind of happens. Every once in a while, I'll hit on something where I'll go to a chord that builds and then go to the hook.
Yeah.
You know. But I notice that I have better luck when I'm coming from the melody first and then put everything under.
Yeah, yeah.
But I usually hand it to somebody like yourself, like, hey, do something with it.
Well, you're living with a great guitar player. So.
Well, now, Larry's awesome guitars. Not everybody's a songwriter, though.
That's
Not
true.
everybody's a songwriter.
That's true.
So, but on the performance end of things, I was like, let it rip on the solo, you know.
Yeah.
And, but tell us about, so here's the other part of your background that I was not aware of. And then I go on Facebook and I come to find out that you've played with people like Meatloaf.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that was a band called what, Floating Circus? Or
Floating
talk
Circus.
about
Yeah,
that a
we
little
came
bit.
back. We had gone out to Los Angeles because my husband at the time had left the band that he was in. We had spent a summer traveling with Question Mark and the Mysterians,
Oh,
who
yeah.
had a tune called 96 Tears. I was their road manager.
Oh, okay.
Collected all the money, and Pete was the drummer for that summer. At the end of that, we had enough money. I laugh about it now. We had a total of $600. We were able to drive across country and rent an apartment for $600 in total. Times have changed.
Right.
That might get me halfway now.
Right. Yeah, that'll get you to the corner. Yeah. Right?
And so we decided to go to LA, and that's where we met. And Meatloaf was out there. So he was just a young, aspiring entertainer.
Right, okay.
And we decided, after putting a band together with him, and the story of how we met is hilarious, but we won't go into that now.
Okay.
But we decided to come back to Michigan because there was a lot of work here at the time in the teenage band circuit. So we could have worked 7 nights a week had we wanted to. And we worked a lot.
Yeah. I read the same thing about Alice Cooper moved here because it was a happening scene.
Yeah. He actually wouldn't play shows with us, we were told, because we were costumed and so were they, and he didn't.
Really?
That's what we were told. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
I read another funny story about, this Meatloaf talking about playing the Grandee, and the Grease band was playing with Joe Cocker, and he saw this scruffy-looking guy that he thought was a roadie come up to him and saying, "Hey, mate, that's quite a heavy load you're carrying there, isn't it?" And he goes, I guess he was moving a Hammond Leslie speaker or whatever he was doing. And he says, "Oh, no, I move this stuff all the time." And then he goes, "No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you."
Yeah.
And it turned out to be Joe Cocker.
Yeah, well, that probably
story.
happened at an event we weren't playing. We happened to meet him out in Port Huron at an event that was taking place in a tent. And
What do you mean, that show with Joe Cocker was?
Joe Cocker, Grand Funk Railroad, which is one of the reasons we went. Yeah, so that probably took place there. We didn't perform. We went after a gig. Meatloaf had a way of making things sound different than what actually happened. And I read his book.
Oh, okay.
I read his book. The things he talks about that took place when we were a band.
Oh, okay.
Made me question.
Turn some stories around.
Yeah. But we did play there a few times. The first time we played, we played with the Fugs, who were there was a band that was friends with. Here we go. Now you're going to see my old age stepping into place. Anyhow, they were traveling with a commune called the Hog Farm.
Okay.
And the Hog Farm actually took a pig on LSD up the steps of the Grande Ballroom into the ballroom, and the pig peed on our roadie's jacket. But
you heard it here first, folks.
No, it's just like, those are one of the memories, okay.
Wow. Well, the Fugs.
Fugs, yeah.
Wasn't connected to the Mamas and the Papas.
Not the Mamas and the Papas. Frank Zappa. They were a part of the Zappa crew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother.
Yeah, a whole nother ball game.
I saw a bio on him just last night, but that's out there stuff.
So it was. We worked with Meatloaf until we decided to come to Detroit to work with a singer-songwriter, musician named Ted Lucas.
Okay, I've heard that name. Yeah.
Yeah, he had been in a band called. Can't remember the name of the band right now. It'll come back.
Well, then it wasn't the MC5 that he was.
Oh no. Ted had actually his band had been the first band from the '60s to get a contract with Atlantic Records out of Detroit. They were like a folk rock band.
Oh, okay.
The Spike Drivers was the name of the band.
Oh, okay.
And then he went on to put together a duo called the Misty Wizards, but he decided he wanted to put together a rock band called the Horny Toads. So Pete came down to work in that band along with Mark Chover, who had been a bass player in the Southbound Freeway. That's my phone.
Oh, that's yours. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was them.
And David Levine, who ended up playing cello in the DSO. I mean, it's just a weird collection of players.
Oh, okay.
But Ted always said that he would be more famous dead than alive. He actually became my mentor. And we recorded together with Jonathan Round. Who,
oh, I remember Jonathan.
Yeah, we did his album, which was never released because there was some conflict with the record label and writers' royalties.
Oh, okay.
But everything was done. Anyhow, Teddy always said he'd be more famous dead than alive, and I don't know if you recall, maybe 7 years ago, the Blind Boys of Alabama had a Grammy-winning album called I'll Find a Way.
Really?
And the title of the album, I'll Find a Way, the title song, was written by Ted Lucas. Most people don't know that.
Wow. And in all these different events that you're referring to, Pete Woodman is in these bands along with you, or you?
Up to that point, yeah.
Up to that point.
Up to
okay.
that point. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I see Pete Woodman around here and there. Who's he been playing with lately, or is he
he's
still playing?
He will do a gig occasionally. He's not playing a lot. But yeah, he goes out and plays in his rehearsal room every single day.
Yeah.
We did a gig together this summer up in Saginaw when he was awarded the Michigan Rock and Roll Hall of Fame award. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's up in Bay City, and it's a museum of sorts dedicated to Michigan musicians.
Yeah. And he's got quite the background as well, musical background.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Both of you.
Yeah.
And now your man in your life now, Daryl Pierce.
Oh, yeah.
We've done some gigs with Daryl Pierce, excellent drummer as well, and he's played with Betty Levette. I mean,
He also played with Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
Local Detroit legend Mark Pasman. He worked with Pasman for years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Paul Randolph.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I'd be sitting there, and Jimmy Fallon would come on, and Betty Levette. There's Daryl.
Exactly. He was on all the major late night television shows. Yeah.
Wow.
Multiple times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, also lately, you've been working with my friend Chrissy Morgan, who just did a show.
Yeah.
We just did that show at O'Mara's, and so you play as a duo?
We worked as a duo. We would
combos?
work as a quartet. It would really depend upon the job. So.
Okay.
But more than anything, she got me playing again because I had basically
right.
kind of retired from the business, so to speak.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, that's good. And somebody get you
Yeah,
back
yeah.
out there
Hey,
doing
Susie,
it.
come on. Oh, really? But that was probably one of the most creative and enjoyable musical experiences, was working with Chrissy and,
Yeah.
you know, getting an opportunity to do things that I hadn't done before.
Right. And she's so enthusiastic. I mean, you know.
Oh, yeah.
She just got this really uplifting personality,
Yeah,
and same thing.
Multiple talents.
Yeah, and she sings. We have a great blend together, and I remember we were driving to the gig together, and I'm like all like uptight and nervous about the show, and she's, "This is going to be great. This, like, you know, you're right. You know, I'm just going to go with that. You know, very, very bright personality, and
a very loyal friend.
yeah, yeah. So, do you have anything, you know, any projects, newer projects in the works?
Well, I've been working in a Lutheran church that has a contemporary worship ministry, and the singer-songwriter leader of that particular thing, we're getting ready to release, I think it's CD number 4.
Okay.
He's almost finished with that. It's his name is Paul Rule. He was a musician in the city back in the late 70s, early 80s. They had a band called Springwell.
Okay.
I didn't actually see them play back then. He's a few years younger than me, but I was around then. And so we're, you know, that is coming up soon. We don't really promote that a lot. They use it more as a ministry outreach. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So where can, do you have your music up online where people can find info on you?
I think Chrissy does. Chrissy Morgan posts things, yeah.
Do you need a graphic designer?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, probably.
We'll talk.
I'll remember that, yeah.
We'll get that website for you guys soon. Okay. We'll get Susie's music up online.
Yeah, you know, there's some things out there. There's some of the first recording with Meatloaf under the name Floating Circus.
Oh, okay.
The masters got destroyed in a fire at the pressing factory. So there's a few of the 45s that are floating around, and every now and again somebody will post something. So I don't know if you look up my name if you know you're going to find it or not. I'm really bad when it comes to social.
So I guess things
media.
where people do a search for Susie Woodman.
Yeah.
You know, SUSIE.
Yes.
Right. And also, I believe you're talking about Simple Love Songs with Chrissy Morgan.
With Chrissy Morgan,
I think that would be up on YouTube.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So there's a place for everybody to look for the music. And also, another question I wanted to bring up, I just like people's opinions, players like yourself, you know, players like yourself. About the local music scene now.
Wonderful. Okay.
And what your thoughts are as far as maybe how do we get back to that? Or is that a younger generation maybe saying to, you know?
The problem that I've noticed in going to the clubs is when you go into a room where people are actually listening and participating in the music, most of them are well over their middle-aged years.
True.
Yeah. The only other time that I noticed where a younger audience was having as much fun was an event I went to this summer to see a 60s tribute band called Magic Bus.
Oh, yeah.
It was an outdoor event, and I was amazed. The whole crowd was dancing in the audience and smiling at each other. And there were people in their 20s and 30s as well doing the same thing. And I thought, oh, it's been a long time. So, yeah, we need in some way, shape, or form to be able to pull the audience back in to the appreciation and the experience of what we're doing on stage.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, do you think, and their approach is the tribute band thing seems to be on fire, you know, so
yeah,
people.
And I do a couple of those.
And well, so do I.
Yeah. And I call them forgeries.
Forgeries?
Because if you were going to paint a painting
that
was exactly like an artist painted.
Another way to look at it.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And I understand that, you know, the reason behind it, but I always joke about that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is, it is definitely the money maker because I'm.
But who goes to see them? It's people who listen to that music originally.
Yeah.
You're not getting a lot of new people coming into the door to see those bands.
Oh, you mean like younger
people,
types?
yeah.
So it's well, there's a couple ways to look at it. It's like it's so expensive to go see the original acts. The original acts don't have the original members.
Yeah.
So you go kind of maybe relive that stuff through the tributes. And locally you can make pretty good money doing that stuff. But when you look at it as far as
the creative
aspect, then it's like, not.
Yeah.
But you kind of resign yourself to that. It's like, this is kind of like tracing a painting,
And it's you're still playing music.
Right.
And it's enjoyable, and you can sneak in some original ideas as you're going along, as long as it's not too extreme to take away from the general reason for the band to be playing. But
right. I like I do play in like I said, a couple tributes, and where at least they give me. I'm supposed to be alto reed, for instance, Bob Seger, and they at least give me a little bit of artistic freedom in soloing more than the recording.
Yeah.
So I'll say that it doesn't have to be exactly like the recording.
And if you had gone to see Alto play live, he would have done a different solo. He would have captured the initial idea and taken it elsewhere.
Exactly. And that's why when we play in my cover band, I try to dig up the live performances for exactly that reason, so we can get an idea of how to stretch and explore different areas of the song and things like that. Well, that's about all our time here, so, but thank you. Oh, well, a couple more things, little mentions here.
I hadn't seen those until just a few
okay.
minutes.
Well, we got a couple more minutes. Okay. That you also perform with Pink Spells, who was just recently on the show.
Oh, was she? Okay, wonderful.
This last month, Pink Spells was, in fact, she's done some, she's on some of my CDs, so she was on the show.
Great singer.
And absolutely is.
Yeah.
And I think she's going to be playing at the Blind Owl too. But also you perform with the blue guitar with Robert Dempster.
Most definitely.
Marty Montgomery, who I know. Yeah. Sax player, excellent. And so everybody keep your eyes open for Susie Woodman out in the Detroit area performing. And thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Yeah.